Yeah, my name is Joseph Ocheno, of course, one of the leaders in Uganda People's Congress. Um, I have been very concerned, and I continue to be very concerned, as one of the founding leaders of the post 1985 UPC campaigns for return to multi-partyism. As you know, I led the External Bureau in UK for a very long time. I supported the founding of other external bureaus, in different parts of the country outside Uganda, and then went on to work very closely with the late President Dr. Bote, who was then based in Lusaka, Zambia, and indeed with Cecilia Gual, who was heading the UPC that had been confined to Uganda House in Kampala, and later when Cecilia was relieved of her duties, that's very important. Cecilia was sacked by Dr. Bote in 1996 for the right reasons, and then replaced by Dr. James Ranyarare. All these leaders I worked with very closely, and part of my work as then a younger leader in the party at the time, and together with many of my other colleagues at the time, the elders, the middle-age grouping, and the youth of the party, that some of us had now become the young leaders of the party. Our mission then was that we compel the end of NRA dictatorship. Number two, our mission then was that we ensure that the ban on political parties by NRA, which had been now is Article 269 under the NRM Constitution, was lifted, and that UPC and other political parties were able to begin to mobilize and organize both in the country and abroad. And then for many of the viewers and possibly listeners who don't know, Article 269 then of the NRA Constitution provided that then existing political parties, namely UPC, DP, CP, and ironically Museveni's UPM, which is basically the offspring of NRM, were supposed to continue to exist, but only in name, and that they should not open branch offices, they should not operate existing ones, they should not hold party conferences in which to elect leaders or to appoint officials. They should not participate in elections, and most importantly, number 4E was that this E meaning 5, that political parties were not allowed to do any such other things that may be deemed to interfere with the nonsensical movement political system then currently in force. We found that obnoxious. We campaigned around that, and for us as young leaders, for me as a young leader at the time, who had just been exiled by NRA from Makerere University for absolutely no other reason except because of my association as a member of the Uganda People's Congress, and maybe my association because I am Ocheno, an O name, and because of my association, I did not want to have anything to do with NRM at the time. So finding myself in exile, we worked together to simply say that no, we must end military dictatorship in Uganda, but we must fight for return to multi-partyism in our country. When we successfully did that, and credit to DP joined us, and by 2004, a combined effort by the Democratic Party and Uganda People's Congress, so the Constitutional Court push for and declare rather the Article 269 of the 1995 NRA Constitution null and void, and so therefore return to multi-parties. At that stage, in November that year, December that year, Milton Obote wrote to me and asked me to return to Uganda to lead a delegation from abroad. The context of this background is that I returned to Uganda, and in that return I came with Jim McKenna and one Stephen Miller, who was head of the youth desk in UPC in Uganda House in the 60s, but he was now an old retired gentleman. Our return was to come and augment the campaigns by our leaders here on the ground, with the effort, one now of seeking to re-register our members, but also to begin to rebuild our political parties and organizations towards preparing us for full return to multi-partyism and participation. Unfortunately, immediately after that, Milton Obote, our founding president, died. Fast forward. After the death of Milton Obote, we were able to have one, Mama Miria, his wife, replace him as president of Uganda People's Congress, interim leader. We all supported that as a party. I know, of course, I think someone would like Cecilia Gwasku against her, but she was our overwhelming leader. I worked in her cabinet. In fact, I was the first official spokesperson of any national political party in Uganda, and that was my position under Mama Miria, and also national assistant treasurer in the national cabinet of UPC. After Mama Miria, I joined in to seek as a candidate to replace her. We successfully got Olaro Tunu elected as president of Uganda People's Congress. That, notwithstanding all the contestation, Olaro was our last president elected in 2010. Fast forward in 2015, there was a contestation about who was the candidate, who was not the candidate. Jim McKenna and others too. The point is, at that stage, we begin with critical challenges facing the party today. One, a candidate who wins majority of the district delegates, but goes on to organize an illegal meeting declared by a court as illegal, in which he's calling it a national consultative conference, in which he is appointed party president. Other members of the party went to the court, and court ruled that Jimmy had no mandate to call a consultative meeting or to create a consultative meeting, which was illegal anywhere at the time, and turn to delegates conference. So therefore, he's not elected leader. Jimmy appealed to the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal ruled in favor, maybe it's dismissed his application, and ruled in concurrence with the lower court. Court of Appeal asked for fresh elections. That is September 2020, September 7th. It's at that stage that fresh elections was held in December. I participated in that election. Peter Walobiri participated in that election. Dan Okello participated in that election. Dr. Dixon Apul participated in that election. I won those elections. Jimmy did not participate in those elections.
Why?
That's a matter for him. You ask him why I didn't. And that's a very important question. Why did he not participate in the election which had been authoritatively directed by a Court of Appeal? And if it is not, then he should have gone to the High Court. Rather to the Supreme Court to appeal. He indeed appealed, apparently. The Court of Appeal ruled against him on October 13, 2023. Jimmy and his team argued that the appeal was not anything to do with the fact that he was elected president. So they argued a technical argument. So if that is not true, on what basis and on what grounds is Jimmy president when he does not contest the Court of Appeal ruling, which was very definitive that fresh elections be held? So where are we today?
Expect answer from you.
So where is it? The point is, Jimmy is not president of Uganda People's Congress, and Jimmy has never been president of Uganda People's Congress according to the constitution of UPC and according to the High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court of Uganda. Number two, Jimmy's occupation of Uganda House. Jimmy invaded Uganda House. He went there by force, forcefully pushed Olaro Tunu, who was then the party president, regardless of Olaro's challenges, whatever his own difficulties. I may not necessarily have been agreeing with him, but it was wrong to chase Olaro Tunu from the party headquarters like a chicken thief. So Jimmy is not president, but Jimmy is also occupying our party headquarters by force and illegally. Now, Peter Walobiri, who was mandated to hold fresh elections after Joseph Bosa, who was then the acting leader for that appointed by Olaro Tunu, appointed Peter Walobiri. He organized the elections. I won those elections. I challenged this matter in court. Now, do you know what is in contestation today? My challenge in court was a High Court judicial review. I sought a judicial review for the declaration that I'm president. That judicial review was from March 17, 2021. Something that should have taken 6 months. It is now 45 months. who is on trial is no longer Peter Walubiri only, but it's Peter Walubiri, his team of people who organize elections, and the judiciary of Uganda. That a matter of a judicial review that should take 6 months, how does it take 4 years? It shows you how people who are conniving with a crooked system to bend the hope and aspiration of the people of Uganda. That is where it is. But finally, I also want to say this. Part of my challenge and disagreement with Jimmy is not only how he imposed himself at the party headquarters and he parades himself as president of the party, but three, most importantly, his relationship with Mr. Museveni. Even if Jimmy had been elected leader and president of Uganda People's Congress, in as long as I'm a member of Uganda People's Congress today and with my authority, I would not agree with him. And number two, unless such an arrangement was a matter that was tabled as part of a national campaign in our manifesto, that when we win elections we shall work with Museveni, and Jimmy is mandated by a legitimate organ of the party to have that conversation, I would not be a party to it.
Okay.
And even if it was happening, I would still refuse. So the point is, Jimmy is neither president of Uganda People's Congress, nor is he mandated to sit in Uganda House, and in any case, his relationship with Mr. Museveni is one in which I permanently reject.
What are you people
hoping that common sense prevails, that the Chief Justice, his deputy, the principal judge, and all their team in the judiciary, the Minister of Justice, Norbert Mao, that they review their conscience and that they ensure that my matter is judiciously expedited. It's already 4 years late, and that this matter is resolved, in which I am declared president, and that my application that is seeking for a permanent injunction against Jimmy is declared. And once that is done, my job is to continue to bring the party together, mobilize and reorganize, build onto the work that I'm already doing at the moment, go around the country, prepare this party for its future beyond 2026, because 2026 is a timetable merely. The party should be looking to the future, and at that level, my hope is that I'm able to be able to work together with all leading political opposition parties to be able to put Mr. Museveni to account, including the business of him kidnapping Ugandans illegally from neighboring countries like Kenya, where, as it happens, Mr. Museveni kidnaps Besigye, brings him here, and takes him to a kangaroo court called the Judicial Court Martial. I have seen the nonsense of Mr. Museveni's letter, purportedly claiming that's a legitimate organ of the state. Yes, it is a legitimate organ of the NRA, the army. Court-martial is judiciously provided for as an organ that is used by army commanders in disciplining their errand officers. Those are serving army commanders. Anybody who has left the army is not supposed to be tried in a court-martial, and that is as basic as that. And in any case, even if Besigye had committed these alleged offenses, you do not kidnap him. And in any case, even if he had committed these alleged offenses, Besigye committed alleged these offenses in Nairobi, Kenya, and it is actually the business of the Kenyan authorities to have arrested Besigye and arraigned him in an open, legitimate court in Kenya. It is not a business of NRA or Mr. Museveni's military outfits here in Uganda. And in any case, in such an event, what is expected of Uganda is to have provided consular services for Besigye in Nairobi, give him support and protection and welfare, rather than to embed the illegal, if you like, incarceration of Kizza Besigye in this court. And that's why I'm very concerned that Mr. Museveni now writes in something which is almost perhaps sub judice, considering the fact that's a matter which is ongoing, and he writes and he gives his opinion. In other words, it's actually stamping authority over the military men. The military men in charge of this court, Mr. Museveni is their commander. So basically, Museveni is instructing the court in which direction to go. So he shouldn't really have written his letter. And in any case, his letter is a nonsensical letter. But there's something significant about Mr. Museveni's letter. Mr. Museveni actually effectively abuses the people of Karamoja. Mr. Museveni claims that over 2,000 Karamojong in prisons in Karamoja, arrested illegally, arraigned by military men in Karamoja, meaning Mr. Museveni extending what he did to Luwero to Karamoja, extending what he did to Bukedi to Karamoja, extending what he did to Teso in Karamoja, extending what he did to Lango in Karamoja, extending what he did to West Nile in Karamoja, and extending particularly the genocide committed in Acholi in Karamoja. And in any case, he goes then to insult the young people of Karamoja that, oh, they're being detained by the soldiers, so they're being fed and housed there, so they shouldn't complain. I think that coming from a head of state is insensitive, and if I was a Karamojong and as a responsible Ugandan citizen, I actually asked Mr. Museveni to seek a public apology over that. Particularly young Karamojong, amongst the poorest of the poor in this country, yeah, who possibly commit petty offenses in Karamoja, but they end up in army courts. Guess what? It is the young Karamojong who expect investments in health, investment in education, investment in infrastructure, investments in their animal husbandry and land in Karamoja. Instead, the big story of this year, one of them, is the Mabati theft, where 21 of Mr. Museveni's ministers are thieves, including his finance minister. They steal from the Karamojong. Karamojong remain looking for petty survival, and Mr. Museveni insults them by claiming that by detaining them, he's actually feeding and clothing them. What an insult.